All right, so it's 11 after. I mean, we can
Yep.
get started and let's do this.
Cool. All right. I've got slides, but I promise that we won't be stuck in slide land forever. Today's really sort of like a workshop. What I want to do is I want to introduce you to OWASP Juice Shop. I want to help you set up OWASP Juice Shop. It only takes a few minutes and we don't need anything special. And then I'm going to walk you through some challenges. We're going to work on some of this together. So welcome. Thank you for coming to this talk. It's called Hacking Modern Web Applications with OWASP Juice Shop. Let's see. You guys can see my slides, right? Okay, awesome. All right, so about your presenter. If you guys don't know me, my name is Ben Allen. And basically, I work as a manager of penetration testing and threat emulation at a company called Trinity Health. We're one of the largest healthcare conglomerates in the United States, having facilities all the way from Maine to California to Texas, Florida, and Washington. It's just all over the place. And I get to do some really fun stuff there, which has been good. I'm also an organizer for DC 207, which is a local meetup group. Definitely check us out if you haven't already. We do similar talks to this. I'm a huge fan of sharing what I know about information security or what I do know. And I'm also a cat dad. I don't know, like people have been telling me all these things about how difficult it's been during the pandemic to have children running about the house. And I'm like, I absolutely understand where you're coming from as a cat dad. I do get interrupted, but it's, I don't know. I trivialize their pain that way. So anyways, that's me. Welcome. Welcome to our workshop. So I always like to kind of throw this out there. In this workshop, I like to say, let's try to do our best and support one another. I think information security concepts are super hard, right? And I don't believe in such a thing as a stupid question asked in earnest. Stupid questions for stupid questions, those totally exist, but no such thing as a stupid question to me. So if you have questions, this is meant to be interactive. So unmute yourself, say, hey, pop something in the chat box. I wanna talk to you about this stuff. All right, so what are we gonna do today? So here's our agenda. So I'm gonna talk to you very briefly about OWASP Juice Shop. I'm gonna tell you what it is and what it does. We're going to talk about resources that are going to help us to become successful at using this. We're going to set up our own lab environment. It's going to be super simple, super easy. We're going to solve a few challenges, and then I'll be available for questions, or if you just kind of want to work on some stuff together, that's totally cool with me too. So, so we'll kind of leave that up to folks. That's our agenda. All right, so introduction to the Juice Shop. So OWASP Juice Shop, what the heck is it? Well, OWASP Juice Shop is an open source tool which can help you learn web application like testing, right? Like the kind of stuff that I do on a day-to-day basis, where I'm actively testing applications for security threats. Now, top level things, it's one of those applications that's vulnerable to the OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities. Vulnerable to the vulnerabilities. And it's based on a modern e-commerce application, right? So if you've ever used, like, I don't know, Amazon.com or something, you're going to be right at home. Basically, it's a store with juice that you can buy. Thus the name Juice Shop. It's all coming together, right, guys? Yeah. Anyways, so OWASP Juice Shop is the effort of a large number of developers. It's primarily the brainchild of one guy. His name is Bjorn. I forget his last name. It's also, I'm very bad at pronouncing other people's names for some reason, but OWASP Juice Shop is the effort of a large number of developers in the project. If you don't know what OWASP is, I gather you might since you're here today, but if you don't know what it is, check out OWASP.org. This is one of their flagship products, meaning that they have like cleared this for like general release. There's a lot of documentation and it's really well supported. And you'll kind of see more or less what I'm talking about as we move along. So why it's awesome? Well, OWASP Juice Shop is awesome for the following reasons, and I just kind of put these together. It's free, it's open source, it's licensed under the MIT license with no hidden costs or caveats, right? You don't have to pay anything for it. It's super good. I'm really cheap, so this is good for me at least. It's easy to install. There's a lot of different options. So if you have like a developer background or an operations background, you can really install this however you want. there's going to be, I think the easiest way to install it is what I'm going to show you tonight. But again, there's lots of different options. It's self-contained, so like any additional dependencies are prepackaged and they're just kind of just in there, it works. I don't know if you guys have ever tried working with like vulnerable systems like this in the past, but these have been being built, stuff like Juice Shop has been like being built for like the last 10 years or so. And a lot of the early iterations were like really complicated to set up, really tough, you know, applications, not user-friendly. Everything had to be like manually configured. This is, again, just all self-contained and really just, again, easy. It's beginner-friendly. It's also unfriendly to experts as well, I like to say. There are hacking instructor scripts with tutorials as well. So like if you're a little bit lost, there's a great like system that's going to help you walk through each bit and piece. And it's self-healing. So it's going to fix itself. If you run into a problem, you hack it to pieces and it's broken, you just need to restart it. It's going to come right back up and pick you up where you left off. So really, really cool. All right. And it's just one of the learning tools I was looking to empower my team. So one of the things that I work for a nonprofit organization. As a nonprofit organization, we don't always have the best budgets. So one of the things that I really like about OWASP Juice Shop is it allows me to identify talent and give tools to them to help them grow, and also develop my own team. Those gradual based difficulties, the tutorials, the rewarding gamification, you really get like points and stuff as you move along. All of that stuff is really good. I like it. So it's definitely being used today in contexts of like, say, someone like me, I'm using it to help build my team. But, you know, I think a lot of people are using OWASP Juice Shop in a similar way. So it's a real deal thing that people use to learn real skills. So, all right, helpful resources. This is really all we're going to need tonight, okay? So right here, this is the Bjorn Kiminich. Anyways, he actually, again, OWASP is really, OWASP Juice Shop is really the brainchild of his. And he actually wrote a really nice book to kind of accompany this. It's at pwning owasp-juice.shop. And that's going to be linked in OWASP Juice Shop, and we'll talk a little bit about that. It's a great resource if you're you know, struggling or need information. It basically has all the information you need to be good at this. We're going to be hosting this on a platform called Heroku. Heroku is a Salesforce product now, and basically what they allow us to do is host code like Juice Shop up in the cloud at no cost to us. It's really simple to deploy. And a browser. Anything with dev tools, you want to pick Firefox though. I'm telling you, it's the best one. And the reason why you want to pick Firefox is that you can edit requests, like API requests, and then resend them. You can't do that in Google Chrome. And that Firefox feature is kind of like, you know, is so useful. And you'll see what I mean as we kind of go through these challenges, okay? So getting our lab set up. What do we do first? The first thing you need to do is set up a Heroku account. So we're going to do that. So if you'd like to follow along, you can kind of keep this up, but I'm going to set up a Heroku account and that'll get us started. So Heroku.com. All right, sign up for free. Pretty simple. Let's see, first name, what am I going to call myself? Alan. I don't know if they're going to let me do that. Benjamin 100 and I have this benjaminisaac.allen.com. Please don't sign up for it there, but it will take any string of text and forward it to me. So I have an unlimited grouping of like fake emails I can use. This, what's my role? I'm a hobbyist in the Bahamas, and I really like Ruby. Cool. So that's what I need to do for this. Okay, so it's saying I need to check my email. So in another browser where you cannot see, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Basically, there's going to be a validation link. This is really basic, like, you know, account stuff. So I'm just waiting for that to come through. I spelled that correctly, I hope. I promise I ran through this and it was like instant last time. Okay. Maybe they're on, oh, nope, here came. So, all right, so I am validated. It's asking me for a password. I'm gonna go ahead and set one. And you can't see this. Struggles. My password's not secure enough. All right. All right. So I'm just going to refresh this. And I'm going to log in. So, yeah. Okay, I'm going to do that later. Definitely do MFA when we can. Oh, I'm forgetting. Okay, so just give me a thumbs up if you've got your Heroku account set up. Got one, got two. Stephen and George, feel free to catch up as you need. We can always go back over these steps as we move along. I have to like agree to this, obviously, and then here we are. So now that we have this part set up, that's, I think it was the hardest part of this whole setup. So now that we have that set up, what we're going to do is we're going to deploy JuiceShop. It's very simple. I want you to go to js.owaspmain.org. And basically, if you head over there, it should take you over to something that will allow you to create a new application in Heroku. And basically, what we're going to be deploying is JuiceShop. So I'm going to do that right now. Right over here. So I'm going to go JS. All right, cool. And this is what I should see for this. So this is going to be deploy my own JuiceShop. And I have to give the name of something unique. So I'm going to name my JuiceShop now. I'm going to call it Zero Cools Juice Shop. It's lowercase. All right, cool. It's available, thank goodness. I am so excited about it. If you don't know Zero Cool, he was like the hacker in the 1990 movies Hackers. He was like the main character, right? So I'm really sorry. I I think that movie is like so ridiculous. We've watched it at DC 207 a few times during like hacking challenges, capture the flags, and I don't know, I love it. So it's just so cheesy. So this is going to brew, right? This is going to take a few minutes to become the JuiceShop we want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm just going to put this off to the side, and we're going to go back, and I'm going to talk to you about a couple of things that we want to keep in mind as we build this out. So not all of the challenges inside JuiceShop are going to be available to us since we're deploying it to Heroku. There's a few security concerns, such as communicating directly with the operating system, and just a few privacy things that we're not going to be able to do, and that's okay, right? That's 15 challenges we can't do out of 100. So we still have 85 we can work on, so there's plenty to still do. And if you absolutely find yourself as one of those people that has to complete every achievement, you can hit me up and we'll figure out how to set it up on your Mac or whatever. But anyways, and your Heroku site is public and super vulnerable, right? So don't store your own personal information on it. I was introducing OWASP JuiceShop to person who is inexperienced in web application security, and they set up like, you can set up an account there, and they put their name, email address, real credit card number, and all kinds of stuff. And I was just like, don't do that. Please don't do that. There is like a database that's running on the back end here. If someone does find it, again, it's very easy to exfiltrate data out of this. Please use fake data. So I set up just another handy little shortcut for today, fakepii.owaspmeeting.org. We head over there. I'm just going to show you. It will generate you some unique information. So you don't have to use your real credit card number. Hopefully, again, it's the only reason I'm doing this is because that actually happened to me, and I'm worried if I'm like liable in some case if I introduce this to other folks. So feel free to use this as a tool. This is the Vencon Cloud. They make a DLP product. Basically, DLP stands for data loss prevention. And one of the things that you can do is generate this data to test to see if their system is working. They made it public, so it's kind of cool to have on hand if you ever need credit card numbers for whatever reason. So good to have that as we do our testing. I'm just going to check on this and see how things are going. So it looks like it's still building. So it's building the Heroku stack. Okay, cool. It's still working. It's going to be probably like a couple more minutes before it's ready. So let's go back here. Yep. And so while it's also brewing, let's talk about strategy, right? This isn't something that you just like you naturally will come to you if you haven't done this kind of testing before in the past. You want to walk into this with a strategy. So here's what I suggest. When we get our juice shop up and running, what we want to do when we're working on these challenges, we want to identify a vulnerability that's interesting to us that we want to work on, right? And then what I would suggest at the next point is let's take a look at the hints. It's okay to look at the hints. You're going to need that contextual information to actually work on the vulnerability. And especially if you don't really know too much about web application testing, you absolutely need this information. So once you've looked at the hint, you kind of get an idea of what the vulnerability is. I'm going to suggest that you correlate the vulnerable component resources, which will help you understand the vulnerability and how to test for it. Here's what you want to look through. You want to look through the OWASP Top 10 if you haven't in the past. You want to look at the OWASP testing guide. That is actually an 85 test cases. Basically, it's a GitHub document with 85 test cases that help you, basically gives you the instructions on how to test for every kind of flavor of vulnerability that's commonly out there. It's like an awesome guide. And then another thing I also recommend doing is looking at the MITRE's CWE, common weaknesses and enumeration. Try to correlate with what you know with something in a CWE. It's a big database that describes vulnerabilities. And basically the kind of neat thing about the CWE database is that, the CWE database will just kind of have like a bunch of information about the vulnerabilities, how they get introduced into code, how to fix them, what's the best mitigation stuff. Again, security people aren't necessarily all-knowing wizards, right? We look at stuff like this to help us give our customers or our people that we're helping the information that they need in order to make their product more secure. So it's a great resource, not just for this, but just for your life in security. So the next step in our strategy is we're going to apply our learned tools and the techniques to the information you referenced. Attempt to solve the problem on your own. This is really important, okay? Try your best. Give it some time. And when you don't solve it, put it down, come back to it, try again. If you're really stuck and you're really frustrated, it's okay to look at solutions, but you want to make sure that you've given yourself some time to process this. It's a really good way to learn. If you just get to the answer every single time, you're going to be at a disadvantage because unfortunately, when it comes down to testing real applications, there's no answer. You have to kind of hit your head up against the wall. So this is a really good kind of preview to a career in web application security testing. So anyways, let's go back to our Heroku thing here. It's still working. It's going to be just probably a couple more minutes. So we've talked a lot about OWASP Juice Shop, web application testing. Does anybody have any questions so far?
No question, just a comment that deploying on Heroku does seem to take a few minutes. So mine is still processing. Others may be experiencing the same.
Yeah, it definitely can take a few minutes. So last time I did this last night actually, and I tested it. It was like, I want to say it was like 7 minutes, and I don't know how long I've been talking. Hopefully about that amount of time. There's something. Oh, Jacob Bryant says, how does this differ from something like DVWA? That's a really good question. DVWA, that's Damn Vulnerable Web Application, I believe that's the acronym for that. And it's not really too different. I would say that the primary difference is that this is sort of in a friendlier package for your modern day folks. Also, it's like a spot application, so single page application. So it relies a lot on API calls and stuff like that. If I recall correctly about DVWA, I don't think it's sort of like an older web app, something's more legacy. This is just sort of like a more modern application and a more accurate representation of what you're going to see out in the real world. So that's how I think they're really sort of different. It's a great question. All right, so Jacob, have you played around with the DVWA?
Yeah, I have kind of a pen test background of like bug bounties and things like that. So I'm familiar with web security.
Right on, very cool. What do you think about this? It's been a long time since I looked at that app.
Yeah, it's been a while for me too. I really used it like a long time ago. I think I only did like maybe 2 things, but.
Right on. Yeah, a really great example of what's out there for like open source stuff. Usually it's pretty good. It's hard to set up. There's like a VM component that you needed. This is just kind of streamlining it, making it a lot easier for folks. I'm looking here, and I don't really think I have much beyond breaking into this. Is it cheating to review the GitHub repo? No. So one of the things that you're going to do actually, and this is kind of fun, is the first challenge that we have is we have to find the scoreboard, the thing that actually keeps our total of what we. Yeah, but one of the things that we're going to be doing is looking at the source code. That's one of the things that we'll do. So we're actually going to dig into the JavaScript as thing, and that's not cheating. A lot of apps are running basically on JavaScript, all JavaScript. So looking at the code is something I definitely do a lot. Have you tried hosting it on Netlify before? No, I haven't, George. I haven't. Yeah. Tell me more about that service. I'm not familiar with it. Oh my gosh, I think we're almost there. I'm thinking, George, it's very good. Free HTTPS. Well, that's good. Yeah, I don't know much about that. One of the reasons I chose Heroku for this evening is that it's so dead simple. It's like really hard to mess this up. And I often feel like, when you introduce steps to things, you unfortunately can run into problems along the steps. So like 2 steps is the right amount of steps for me on this kind of thing. So, but I'll have to check that out. Thanks for the tip there. So my particular juice shop has deployed. Is anyone else's set up? Yeah, John, no.
I have a slow computer.
Well, it's just in the cloud. It has nothing to do with your computer, John. You hit like, are you like VPN'd in like Tokyo or something, and you're like hitting servers in different regions? Okay.
No,
Cool.
it's waiting for your jobs to finish. I'm at the end of the queue.
Prioritization, right? All right. So so now that this is all deployed, we can look at the build log if we want, but let's not do that. Let's look at our application. So we can click View, and it's going to take us to our juice shop. Boom. How easy is that, right? So simple. So they have a nice little introduction message here. OWASP Juice Shop, welcome. Being a web application with a vast number of incident security vulnerabilities, the OWASP Juice Shop is supposed to be the opposite of best practices or a template application for web developers, right? And it's awareness, training, demonstration of a tool, so on and so forth. It's developed by OWASP, maintained by volunteers. You can look at this for more information. But if you need help getting started, that's something that you'd want to kind of click here. And whenever you see this orange button or this orange like little graduation cap, that can kind of give us like a tutorial mode that opens up. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to click that. I'm going to just say that I'm okay with the cookies. And basically there's this little juice guy up here. It's kind of like the paperclip in Microsoft Office, and it's basically walking us through this. It's saying, hey, the first thing that you need to do here is you need to find Scoreboard. It's the first challenge, so have fun. You could start guessing the URL of the Scoreboard or comb through the client-side JavaScript code for useful information. Cool, and that's literally all we get. You can find the JavaScript code in the DevTools in your browser that will open with F12. One of the sort of interesting things about this, and just moves us to our finding the Scoreboard. It's our first activity, so we're already starting. One of the things that they kind of highlighted here, and this is something that I think is really, really cool, is that you can actually solve this particular problem multiple different ways. And you're going to find that that's true for most of these challenges, right? And this has actually been designed with that in mind. I've talked to a few folks who do like professional development of this kind of stuff, and they always look to create multiple different end paths to the same thing. So there's no right or wrong way to really solve this problem. It's whatever works. And at the end of the day, the bad guy is going to do whatever works to steal your information or take advantage of security problems. So when I first get started with a web application, usually what I like to do is I like to just kind of browse around and kind of figure out what's here, right? So I see that's a shop, so I could like click on apple juice. Cool, it's the all-time classic. There's reviews, that's interesting, so users can input data. And I can, pop around here. There's some interesting features here, more reviews. Okay, I go up to the hamburger, there's a bunch of options, about us. Cool. I love the shop, best products in town. Okay. Photo wall. There's some photos. GitHub. Customer feedback, contact. So if I were to start guessing, because again, I know that there's a scoreboard, like, I'm just going to throw this out and I'm going to ask people questions now. If I just started guessing, what do you think I would like start guessing with? Like, what would I do? What makes sense to do?
Maybe try like /score or like /scoreboard.
Yeah, okay. That's a great idea. Because, as we kind of browsed around here, like we noticed there's contact, about, right? Photo wall. And that's 2 words, right? So let's try that. Score. Yeah, it just takes us back to the home page. Scoreboard, maybe. Okay, so our guessing isn't working, right? You would normally want to guess more, just 2 things. What we'll do at this point is we'll take a look at the dev tools. So primarily, a lot of the sort of application security testing that you can find yourself doing these days in this kind of environment is, you'll use things like web application proxies, which is something we'll talk about later. But a lot of times you can do most of it right in the web browser. And I'll show you what I mean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually open up the developer stuff by clicking inspect here. And it's going to open this stuff down here with like super tiny font. Let me try to actually make this bigger for you guys. Okay, cool. Lots of different options here. I'm not going to walk you through each of them. It's something you should definitely explore as you kind of like set this up and kind of play with it. But one of the things it said that we could do is we could actually search through the JavaScript code. So that's what I'm going to try to do. So I'm going to just kind of poke through here. And hacking sometimes is just like, clicking through things and looking for stuff. Debugger, sources. Hey, there's some JS, JavaScript right there. That's cool. That's interesting, right? But I think what we wanted back here is here. So there's an index. Main, oh man, that's really messy. So I'm not a developer, but I know sometimes like when I see secrets or I see functions, something, I typically can know what to look for. And what I typically do if I'm, again, faced with the opportunity of looking through a bunch of non-minified code, actually, I'll actually just go ahead and search through stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm just like literally going to go Control F. I'm going to say find a file, and then I'm going to look for like score. So I'm just kind of like poke around until really what I actually, you know what? Now, because this is like an option over here, maybe what I should look for is like photo wall. Let's do that. So it's interesting. Photo wall. Oh, this is interesting. So there's something here, path, contact, path, photo wall, order history. Yeah, wallet, forgot password, instructor, result.
You can also prettify the code by clicking the thing next to the eye.
Yes, thank you.
The one next to it.
Yeah, oh.
Just makes it a little nicer.
Anyways. Yes, it does. Anyways, but we saw Scoreboard there. So basically it's, these are components that we can kind of click through and look at. So let's just try that. So we didn't try guessing this when we did our initial look. So let's take a look. Pop that in there, and yay, we're officially hackers. We solved our first challenge. We found the scoreboard, and this is the scoreboard, guys. Very, very simple interface, and basically it's got all your challenges, all your things that you're going to look for and hunt for when you're doing your testing, and it's going to sort them by difficulty. So 1 star is the easiest, 2 star is a little bit harder, 3 star, 4 star, 5 star, so on and so forth. They get progressively more difficult. Some interesting components I just want to point out here. As far as like the description, that kind of tells you a little bit about what you're going to be doing, what kind of vulnerability it is. This is a cross-site scripting vulnerability, for example. And then these 3 things over here are really sort of interesting. So first, this is like your hint. If you hover over this, it's going to show you just a very simple hint. So copy, paste, solved. Click for more hints, right? And this will actually take you to that Juice Shop book that we talked a little bit about. And basically what it's going to do is it's going to give us a little bit more information to work with. So the underlying vulnerability of this challenge is the same as perform this attack. The effect of the payload is much more entertaining though, okay? So what they say is like, do this one first, right? And then you just need to copy and paste the payload into the vulnerable field and then crank up the volume of your computer before sending the payload. Okay, simple. If I go back to this, if I click on this little thing here, this will actually start one of those interactive tutorials that will walk us through the challenge. And then if I click on something like this, and these are not on everyone, but this is the vulnerable code. So if you're like a software developer and you're sort of interested in how it works behind the scenes, clicking on this will actually load a code snippet for you that will just show you basically a big block of code that's vulnerable. And they, if you click on this guy, it will say, oh, the line specifically, because not all of it's vulnerable, just a specific line. And again, this information about like the vulnerabilities, those pieces of data about like why it's vulnerable and how to be better, those are in the book. So if you find yourself saying, okay, this code is confusing, I don't understand why this is vulnerable and I'm really interested in it, go to the book. It has all the references that you're going to need to, poke around in here. So, so far, any questions based on what we've done already?
Yeah, the app is not redirecting me to the scoreboard. It's actually putting me to like, hold on, I'm gonna paste it in the chat.
Sure.
It's like this, and then it's not it's not displaying the scoreboard.
Sure. So, it's redirecting you to that. It's not like /# / scoreboard.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I can try putting the pound then.
Yeah, try that. That's actually going to be that's actually going to help route the application to the right place. Actually, it's a component of HTML5, I believe. I'm not a developer, so.
Yeah, that worked.
Okay, cool, awesome. Yeah, thanks, George. That's great, super useful. All right. So, like I said, I'm not gonna show you the super hard things, but I do want to work through a couple more challenges just to kind of show you like how you're going to go about finding vulnerabilities and just discovering them through this platform. So what are we going to do next? I'm going to check out the cats. All right, so there is something in here about a cat, if I remember correctly. All right, so missing encoding. It's 1 star, so it's easy. We're going to retrieve the photo of Bjorn's cat in melee combat mode, okay? It's an improper input validation, and I don't really have any more information other than it's a photo, right? So I kind of remember, like looking at the photo wall earlier, I kind of remember seeing photos, but I don't remember seeing a cat. But look, there is something right here. Okay, well, let's look at the hints all the same because let's pretend I just don't know anything about this. All right, so, wow, okay. There it is. Okay, so I'm gonna click on the hints. Basically saying here, retrieve the photo from this, right? Who wouldn't want to see this cat fighting fiercely with a furry green plush toy? I totally want to see that. I don't know about you guys, but when you visit the photo wall, you'll notice a broken image. We did see that. You literally have to inspect the problem to understand the basic issue. And it can help to try out the tweak button of the entry to observe what happens. So it doesn't really tell you how, like what is wrong here and how to solve it. It's just giving you some ideas on how you should start poking at it. So let's start poking at it. So they said literally inspect. I can do that, right? Before we inspected the source code for finding the scoreboard, we can do that here. So I'm gonna right click on this element and inspect. And basically what I can do is if I kind of like go down through this, like, I'm gonna make this bigger. If I go down through these elements, you can kind of see them getting highlighted in the web browser window. And what I want to do is I want to see the HTML code for this particular element. So I'm just gonna kind of like hover around, and if I actually clicked on the button that says inspect there, it's going to usually open the code right to where I want to go. And it's doing that in this case. Okay, so let's look at this. So this is the image, right? It gives us a place, assets, public images, uploads, cat emoji, and then there's a hashtag, that with alt text. So it's sort of interesting. Let's see if we can go to that. So I don't know if it's I don't know if you can just like go to this, but we'll try. Nah, we can't do that. They said we should try out the tweet. So there's like a tweet button here. So let's check that out. This works better if you have a Twitter account. I don't have mine signed in here. But basically what happens is it creates a tweet for you, and the tweet is encoded differently, meaning that the characters are slightly different. So the issue really here is encoding. So we're using a special cat emoji. Who thinks the cat emoji is throwing us off? Nobody? Somebody? Steven? He's like, yeah, it's that cat emoji. Or who thinks it's the pound sign? Yeah. You'd be right, Jacob. So the cat emoji is kosher, but it's the pound sign that's throwing us off. What we need to do with these pound signs right here is that we need to actually change them so that they're in a friendly format for our web browser. So let's see here. So what I typically do, and I don't remember this at all. Okay, well, let's find that element again. It's on here. All right, okay. So I'm gonna open this up. So what I'm gonna do is I wanna basically URL encode these components, these little pound signs right here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just kind of copy this, open it myself up in the browser, and I'm gonna say URL encoding sheet. Basically, this is just a list of things. So when your web browser like makes requests for content, sometimes these special characters need to be handled a little bit differently. And the way that they're encoded is they have like a very specific % and then, you know, number assigned to them. I never can remember what these are, so if you can, good for you. I'm very happy for you. I always look these up when I start doing this. So here they're saying the pound sign is %23. So let's take that, we're gonna copy. And basically all I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna edit this like HTML, right? I'm gonna remove that, and that covers them. I think, and press enter, and boom. It was just an issue where the wrong stuff was like in the code, preventing us from actually loading that URL, because again, it just didn't understand that was a pound sign. Basically the web browser was interpreting that as something different, like as an actual special character, not actually part of the URL. So URL encoding, it's a thing, and there's the cat. So and then now that we solved this, OWASP JuShop is super smart. It says we solved it. Yay, great. So let's do another one. Any questions about this particular challenge? Awesome, so I'm really good at explaining things. Okay, awesome. All right, so let's go to our next hacktivity. Let's see here. Them robots took our gerbs. So let's abuse the chatbot. So this is so silly, and it feels stupid, and it feels like cheating, but you will be so surprised about like what hacking technically can consist of sometimes. So let's go to our challenge here, and let's look for the robot one. Okay, bully chatbot. This is, again, very simple, 1 star. We want to receive a coupon from the support chatbot, brute force technique, right? And it's a miscellaneous. So the unsolved, if we go here, there's hence, right? Receive a coupon code from the support chat box. This is about nagging a support chatbot. You know, you guys have seen this these days, I'm sure. You go to a website and there is like a little thing that pops up like, hey, can I help you, right? Those are everywhere these days and they're all automated. Like AI driven or whatever, but this is simply saying, hey, you know, go to this chatbot, bug it for a coupon. So, and the bot's reluctant to give us one. It comes up with excuses. So let's try doing it. So we gotta find it. I don't actually remember seeing one of those. So let's see. Maybe it's under customer feedback. No, it's not there. Actually, has someone seen this already? Do they know where it is? No? Okay. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm not a customer, so I'm gonna make myself an account. I'm gonna go crazy here. Again, don't use real information here. So my password, I'm gonna use a securely generated password. Okay. What's my mother's birth date? Okay, cool. So I'm gonna register and we'll say save. Cool. All right, cool. So I'm Benjamin at benjamin.com. And now I'm logged in. I just want to see if something changes. And look, something changes. We actually have a bunch more things that we can do as customers, just like any other website. If you're a customer, you have more opportunities to interact with them and to give them money and things like that. And right here, we have our support chat option. So let's take a look at that. I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. What should I call you? I want to be called Juice. Hey, Juicy. And so basically what we're going to do here is I'm just going to bother this thing for a coupon. So give me cheap juice now. Okay. Coupon. I can understand what I was trying to say. Coupon. Discount. You should check out our social medias for monthly coupons. Okay. Oh, you know, I'm spelling coupon incorrectly because I'm really dumb. Coupons. All right. And basically, again, this is kind of silly. This is kind of just a silly thing, but you will be surprised. A couple of times I've looked at some web applications where the chat robots have helped almost too much just by bugging them, right? Because they're like artificially intelligent and they're doing something that they think they're supposed to be doing. And this is a really good just example of e-commerce bots being manipulated to disclose coupon codes. But we don't even need this code because we're actually going to set our own prices for this juice shop. Let's move on to our next activity, unless anybody has any questions. Again, this is a really simple example. Good. All right, so our next activity is we're going to leave a 0-star review. Okay, so let's go back to our scoreboard now that we're logged in and all that good stuff, and we're going to look through our challenges. 0 stars. So this is an easy one again. We're going to give a devastating 0-star feedback to the store. And the category is improper input validation. So I'm just going to hover over this, and it says, before you invest time with bypassing the API, you might want to play around with the UI a bit. Click for more hints. So I'm going to do that. Again, it's part of our strategy. We're just going to go through here and where is this? Am I missing something here? Yes, here we go. You might have realized that it's not possible to submit customer feedback on the Contact Us screen until you've entered a comment and selected a star rating from 1 to 5. This challenge is about tricking the application to accepting feedback with 0 stars. It says before you invest in time like digging into this, play around with the UI a bit. The nice thing about this here is in these hints, it gives you some interesting things. Like, remember we talked about the CWEs before? It gives you a link to them. So you can kind of read up a little bit more and sort of get a better understanding of what improper input validation is. Really great for context and part of your process that you want to follow as you dig into this. So what we're going to do, and again, there's not one single way to solve this problem. There's multiple different ways, but let's go ahead and take a look at it and we'll give it a college try. So let's go over to customer feedback. And it says I'm logged in. Okay, cool. And I can add a comment. I don't want to add a comment. I just want to give it a rating. And then there's a CAPTCHA. Oh no, there's math. So it's 50, right? So it says, okay, comment 1. So it won't let me add a comment unless there's some characters in here. And it doesn't look like I can go to 0 stars. I can go 1. Let me just try that. Do I have the wrong math here? So it's 10 times 5 is 50, right? Let's see. Oh, maybe. 7, and then I'm just going to hit submit. Okay, cool. That actually worked. For some reason, I must not have had that math thing. Okay. So it says, thank you for your feedback. And then just resets the form. Okay, so what we did last time is we looked at we inspected it, right? Let's do it again. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger for you guys. And so while it is technically true, you can absolutely manipulate the UI in this case by using this. I want to show you a different option. I'm going to show you the API one. So basically here, one of the things I want to show you about using Firefox generally is that you have a super fun option of monitoring the requests that you generate, and then they give you an option to like replay these requests. So like, for example, what I just did is something, basically I made a post request, right? And the post request sent the contents to the server and the server processed it. What this can allow me to do is capture that post request so I can make changes to it and then send the changed version. So now I'll actually just show you what I'm talking about. So, so we're going to say, what did I like or dislike? I don't know actually. Well, 1 second. Actually. Okay, 3 times 3 times 6 is not something I know either, so I pulled up the calculator for this. I was homeschooled. That's my defense. So I didn't like this. So is that right? Okay, so 4 stars. And then what I'm going to do is I have this open to the network tab. Okay, and I'm going to click submit. And basically, it's going to do everything that we just kind of talked about. It's going to send a post request. So let's take a look at that. So this post request is kind of interesting. So it's got like, so it's a post. It goes to the API feedback. So that's where feedback goes. And there's some interesting stuff here. Payment self, feedbacks 9, server cowboy. Has some interesting content. But what I want to scroll down is I want to find the data I submitted, which should be in here somewhere. Actually, is it here? No. Okay. So, or sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. So is our request? So our request was, we had a CAPTCHA of 54. We had a CAPTCHA ID. I just want to point this out as bad. Just initially, so basically all the CAPTCHAs have IDs, and you can know what they're solved by just knowing by the CAPTCHA ID. So anyways, Here's our rating and here's our user ID. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click in here and I want to edit and resend. Okay. You cannot do this in Chrome, so don't try. So if I click edit and resend, basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change what I sent over. And in this request body here, I can make some changes. So I could say, I could change the comment. I could say I want to be 4, 5, 6, 7. And then maybe I want to give it that 0-star rating that we talked about, right? And if I go up here, I can just click send, right? And it will send that 0-star feedback. And as you can see up here, we solved a challenge. Now, like I said, there's multiple ways to solve this. You can actually, again, manipulate elements here that allow you to give it a 0-star rating. I would strongly suggest, if you're curious, after this session, dig into that. Start looking about like how you can actually do that. It's going to be surprisingly easy once you start poking at it. With that one out of the way, does anyone have any questions about that? No? Okay, great. All right, so we have one more activity before we call it quits. We're calling this one Lat Day. So we want to creep through other people's shopping carts. And just because we just had some really fun times with editing those API requests, I want to just kind of show you a little bit more on how to use that. So anyways, let's pop back over to our juice shop. And we're going to look at the scoreboard again. All right, so scoreboard, and where is, oh, you know what? I think this is a harder one. I think it's a 2-star. Yeah, view basket. View another user shopping basket. Okay, now we're getting more difficult. There's a tutorial on this one, by the way, so if you feel interested in doing that. I'm going to just click on the hints because, again, I like hints. So I'm going to put additional product, get rid of all, view another user shopping basket. This horizontal or lateral, sometimes people say privilege escalation, requires challenge, demands you to access the shopping basket of another user. Okay. Let's say you can prank the victim by manipulating items, their quantity, hoping this will go unnoticed during checkout. Basically what they say for us to actually kind of like get going with this, we want to try out the existing functionality with the shopping basket while having an eye on the HTTP traffic. So that network thing that we had open before is a really good way to keep an eye on traffic. There might be a client-side association of the user basket that you can try to manipulate. And in case if you manage to update the database via SQL injection so that user is linked to another shopping basket, the application will not notice this challenge is solved. So if you do something really fancy, it's not going to notice that you did this. So let's go back and let's try to solve that one. So, all right. So as we kind of talked about earlier, one of the things that you want to do when you're doing web application testing is you really want to just start by exploring the functionality of the application and mapping all of the workflows. And one of those workflows, right, is being a user that's shopping for juice. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep this open, right? And then I'm just going to start adding stuff to my basket. So I'm going to add the apple juice. So API basket items, interesting. Okay. I'm going to add some of this hummus. Banana juice, maybe? What do you guys think? Should I give it? Should I splurge? It's almost Friday. All right, so all I'm seeing here is that it's just adding things to my cart. I think that's pretty interesting. Basket ID. So that's interesting right there, right? Whenever we see things like when we see attributes that are like numbers, that's really interesting to me. One of the things you want to do as a tester is you go through this and you test like 1 through 6, play around with it. But let's look at our basket, right? I'm looking at it now. I don't have anything in my basket. Oh, that's not good. Uh, that is definitely not intended. So let's try this again. Okay. Awesome. Let's see. This is just going to be the way it is, right? So it's not working right at this moment. There's something wrong at this point. Yeah, I know, John. I know you're shaking your head. You disappointed me. My mom is disappointed in me. I know how you feel. Usually in this case, what I would say is, you know what's probably a good idea? Maybe we hacked it too much. Maybe what we need to do is reset the application. So that's something I would do in this case. Now, this was not intended. We tempted the demo gods with several different things tonight. This was not intended, but I'm going to just show you how to reset this application in Heroku, just so you can see it happening. So I've got Heroku here. I'm going to go to my dashboard. There's my juice shop. And I can open app. I can do more. If I hit restart all dynos, basically it's going to restart all of the stuff for me. So it's basically restarting the application right now, which is great. Because it's self-healing, when it comes back up, it should be fixed. But what I wanted to show you is basically in the basket here, that particular basket ID, when I click on your basket, it allows us to look at a basket, right? And it allows us to look at the basket that's assigned to us, which would be basket ID 6. For some reason, it's not showing up here, but what we could do is we could basically alter that request to request not basket ID 6. I'm just looking at this to see what that actually was. Yeah, so it was making the right request. So instead of changing it to so instead of saying basket 6, we would say basket 5, right? And then we would resend. We would just kind of do that. So we would, edit and resend. We go here, change the basket ID to 4, send, and then what happened, right? Whoops. What happened? Let's go back. So the request went through. Let's take a look at the response. There's an error. That's because the application's restarting. But if it wasn't restarting right at this moment, it would actually show us in JSON, or basically a JavaScript object, what was in someone else's basket. So there's like raspberry juice in a specific basket, I think, and a couple other things. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool way to look at that. And again, sometimes these things they're like API based. So you'll be seeing things over here that aren't necessarily related here. But with that being said, there is a way for you to solve this problem and not just see the raw JSON object. You can actually look at other people's shopping carts in the context of this application. But I'm not going to tell you how to do that. I'm going to ask you to try it for yourself. Okay. With that being said, that's really all I planned for today. I just wanted to go over a couple of simple challenges, get you used to the idea of apparently restarting your server at this point, but get used to the idea of here's the hints, here's how the system works, here's the scoreboard, because I think that's an important thing to get started with. That's kind of more or less what I have for you today. I do want to just show you some more resources very, very quickly. And I say more, not a lot of fruit, just a couple more things. So we have the manual, we have the hosting, we also have the WAP. This is not a reference to the popular song last year by Cardi B. This is a web application proxy. There's a couple of them that are very, very popular. My personal favorite is something called Burp Suite. You can actually go ahead and get yourself a copy of it if you head over to portswigger.net. They have a free version that's not open source. they just have a free version, and it's like community version, and you can use it. It has limited functionality. Or if you like, OWASP makes a really great one too, called Zap Proxy. You can get that at zapproxy.org, and it's a little bit more full-featured. It's just different to use. Like I've been using Burp Suite for a long time, and when I go over to Zap Proxy, I'm just like, oh, stuff's not where I want it to be. So, and the reason why you want to get the web application proxy is that they're really good for halting web requests, inspecting them, changing them, and submitting them after the fact. So one of the things that we were doing, which was really cool, is we were editing and resending requests inside Firefox, and that's great. But sometimes you will run into CAPTCHAs that don't have IDs that you can easily bypass, right? Sometimes you'll need to edit a request in flight, and that's what you'll want to do. You want to do that in flight with a web application proxy. Web application proxies are a whole other thing, and if you don't know how to use them, I found a little course for you guys that it's really super easy and helpful. It's a beginning web application hacking. It's by this guy, Heath Adams, who's like the cyber mentor or something. He has a really great, just free course that's out there that covers all of this, talks about OWASP Juice Shop, which again is a super awesome tool, as you've seen this evening, and gets you sort of familiar with the things that you're going to need to be successful at solving these challenges and getting competent at solving and finding bugs in web applications. So if you like what you saw, this is where I'm going to ask you to follow me on LinkedIn, follow my DCG207 Twitter account, that's DEF CON group. Check out DEF CON 207 or DC 207 for similar events. We do them usually every month. And then if you are not part of the main Slack, mainsec Slack, join today. Head over to mainsec.org. The ISC Square community's there, OWASP's there, DEF CON's there, like everybody's there. And it's a really great way to network with a bunch of different people. We have people from SANS, people who work for ISC Squared, just like a lot of different folks. We have pen testers, we have AppSec people, we have, people who sit in, SOCs, or security operations centers. So there's just a lot of different talent, a lot of different folks that are just right here in Maine. And it's a great way to get a job too. So if you're looking for work, it's a good way to do that. With that being said, I just wanted to ask you if you had any further questions, because that's really the end of the presentation tonight. I had planned for about an hour. So any questions from you guys this evening?
I had a question about the VinCon cloud. You said, is that available to anybody? So free access to that?
Yeah, you betcha. So if you wanted to, so you could just go to this website. Actually, it will take this link right here, fakepii.owaspmain.org. That will actually just give you 10 entries. It's just a shortcut I created. But if you go there, that's the actual application. You can reuse that as much as you like. It's super handy to have if you're doing some, some testing with sensitive data. But yeah, it's free. Yeah. Awesome. Any other questions?
I have one.
Oh.
So I'm a web developer and have been for many years. I'm thinking of transitioning to cybersecurity. Any suggestions?
Any suggestions? Well, if you've been a web developer, I'll tell you right away that web developers are exactly the kinds of people that security folks want to hire, because you have a background and familiarity with web applications. What I would suggest doing is, if you want to get noticed, you could technically probably now, if you wanted to, start submitting your resume to places and trying to get a security job. But what I would recommend doing is, try to create some presence for yourself, like on LinkedIn or something like that. Share content that's about security. Maybe do some independent research. Maybe give an OWASP talk, for example, right? On something that you learned that you think is really interesting. Just one of the things I really look for, in hiring and looking for a team is I really want folks who are engaged and are learning and contributing. Those kinds of people that are sharing and being collaborative they have the skills that I'm looking for usually. So I would say get involved where you can, but also learn this stuff. If you don't already know this, dig in, play with it, get familiar with it. And if you like what you're doing, that's probably a good indicator that you'll like being a tester, like being a penetration tester or being an AppSec person. There's a lot of this, and there's a lot of jobs. So, and I will say that a lot of places these days, again, because of the labor shortage, they're willing to take the right people with the right attitudes and the right background skills and train them. So, you know, it just depends on where you're gonna go. My newest pen tester, her background is in risk assessment. I just needed someone who like, bottom line, sometimes it's about someone who's interested enough and is engaged, and that's sometimes all you really need, because all this stuff, like the how to do this changes. You know, I mean, it's the same, but it also changes. You know, there are new techniques, new tools that are developing all the time, and again, being plugged in, being part of like the learning process, being part of the community, that's just a good indicator. So I would say that you have a lot going for you already. Just having a development background, you know how hard it is for me to find developers that want to do security. It's really hard, actually. I don't know how John feels about that, but I think it's hard. But I mean, that in itself is usually just a good start.
Thanks.
Yeah, you know, Ben said a lot of great tips there, and I would say OWASP as a collective, an organization with a ton of collection, you know, resources on it. One of the things they're working on right now is an education committee to provide guidance to folks in your exact situation. And it's a new project. If you go to owasp.org and look for education, you know, you can certainly find a ton of resources there. But like Ben said, you've already got a head start on a lot of folks who are interested in this field. Like Ben has said, if you know, come to somebody with that kind of desire to learn and want to take that on, your opportunity to get hired or, you know, find the right space, the opportunity is there. A lot of free resources, including the one that Ben just shared about from Heath Adams. Check those out. But, you know, the other thing, like he alluded to, is contributing to these projects that give you visibility. You know, taking part in OWASP in particular is a high visibility organization. And if you can get yourself involved with that, there are so many small projects, you know, from the, you know, Juice Shop is one of them, of course, but there's a whole bunch around education, security requirements, security governance. You know, it's a really big space. And so from the AppSec side, there's plenty of tools that you can start to utilize and contribute, learn how to use those. They're free, and so you can hone your skills there and take part in the communities, all GitHub based, so you can get in touch with folks there. You can check out OWASP, slack.owasp.org and sign up. There's a ton of channels in there that are going to have, you know, anything that you're interested in. AppSec is a channel of itself. It's really busy and popular, and you can certainly contribute and ask for additional guidance there. There's chapters, there's jobs, the whole range. So certainly it's a nice tool to have in your toolbox in terms of other communities.
You know, and just to kind of like say that once you get in touch with these communities, you know, don't be too afraid about being like vulnerable and just saying, hey, this is what I want to do. There's going to be so many great people to connect with just in the community, at least in my opinion, that will connect with you and want to help you figure out what you need to do next. And tons of people have tons of different advice. And, you know, again, I'm not a developer. My background was in operations. It's another path that people come from. You know, so, you know, my advice was very different from, you know, someone who was, you know, has a development background. So, you know, don't feel too scared to like just say, connect with these people and say, hey, I want this. Like, what do you guys think I should do, right? They have even like I think a Twitter hashtag, it's like Mentoring Monday, where they like InfoSec people get connected to younger folks or people who are just getting started. You just say, hey, I want a mentor, and usually people will just pop up out of nowhere and like try to help. because we need people. We need people to join us. I mean, John, there's probably like just so many security openings, like just all over the place for all kinds of different types of roles. But yeah, the need is overwhelming.
Yeah, you're hearing about daily in the news. Just at a federal level, the president has made security a priority. A lot of these security issues are focused around application security, oftentimes, or insecurity. And so, you're going to find locally, there's a lot of groups, all these groups that Ben has mentioned, take part in those. It's a great way to network with people. You'll hear about opportunities there. The jobs channel on OWASP Slack is a great place to start as well. And look at what they're looking for. It's a great way to see what people are looking for in terms of skills. If you're focused on a particular language, you can look at kind of the security best practices around the language that you're fluent in, and then start from there. And then, you can understand the security best practices, but also, look at hacking in that particular language if that's what you want to focus on.
Thanks.
Any
Cool.
other
This has been
questions?
great. Yeah.
Are we good?
No, great job, Ben. Thank you for joining and volunteering to take part. I didn't mention this, or I may have said it before others arrived, but I'm a part of the main chapter of OWASP. This is an attempt to kind of keep it going. OWASP wants to make sure that there's at least a quarterly meeting. So Ben graciously agreed to do this one. We will definitely try and do one, probably not when the weather's so nice, although the next quarter will be maybe it'll be in September. But we'll put some announcements out on the various local community, forums, Slack, and other places. If anyone here today is interested in doing a talk or has an idea or a suggestion for a talk, feel free to send it to myself. I think you can send that through the meetup space. You can certainly find me on the main sec channel. We have a OWASP, or on main sec Slack, there's an OWASP channel on there. And then on the OWASP Slack itself, I'm on there too. You can DM me, or Ben, since he's now, whether he's a formal member or not, he's in by proxy. So hopefully we can find some folks and formalize the main chapter. And if you're interested in taking part, Michael, that's a great opportunity for you to become more involved. Even if it's just helping to organize these events, you become, people recognize you, and that's a good, networking opportunity too. So other than that, I don't have a deck or anything. I want to say big thanks to Ben and big thanks to everyone else who's joined today.
Thank you, John, for having me.
Yeah, you got it. And anytime you want to do it again, let me know.
Okay.
And there is a recording, so once it's available, I'll post it somehow. Maybe I can send a message out if you RSVP'd on Meetup, and I'll send the link out through that.
John, if you want, I can upload this to the DC207 YouTube channel. You can just share a link that way if that's at all convenient for you.
Totally fine with me. Once I have it through Meetup or however that works, I'll send it along.
Awesome. Very cool.
Great. Well, thanks,
It's great
everyone.
meeting a lot of you.
Yeah.
Take care. Have fun. And if you have any questions about this, you get stuck, just send me an email. I'm friendly, allegedly.
Rumors
All
are.
right, see you guys.
See you.
Bye, everyone.
Have a good night.
Hey, everyone.
Bye, everyone.